Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're talking about quitting binge eating, how to actually quit for good and quit forever. Yeah, and first off here, let's talk about the raw reality of this. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's something I've struggled with from pretty young, maybe 12, 13, and throughout my later teen years, it got worse, and definitely is one thing that prevented me from healing earlier. So the first step to solving a problem, I think, is to identify that, hey, this is a problem in the first place, right? Because a lot of people, they will just cope, make excuses, and just continue to do the habit. But when you can identify that, hey, this is a problem, I know it's a problem, I can take accountability here, then and only then will you start to be able to make progress towards your goal. There is no overnight magic, okay? It's going to take you consistently, mindfully putting in an effort day after day after day after day, and then eventually you're going to be able to overcome it. And again, just to recap here, the most important thing is acknowledging you have this problem in the first place. Not coping, not making excuses, not being arrogant. Why would somebody go ahead and binge eat? Let's first define what binge eating would be in the first place. I would consider it eating past the point that you're full, or just eating for pleasure, eating, to cope with some sort of a situation, just eating past the point of you're full. You're not hungry, but you're still eating. And, there can be levels to this. It definitely can be less severe and more severe. And depending on where you are, it's going to be harder to turn it around, but there is always hope. So the first thing I would say is stress. If someone is really stressed out, they can use food as a coping mechanism, as pleasure, to help them, to make the stress go away. Another thing could be anxiety and depression. If you're a very anxious person, this maybe was even one of the causes for myself, or you're in a depressed state, right? Depression is a state of being where your dopamine levels are supposed to be here at the baseline, but your baseline is now down here, and you go ahead and you'll binge eat and your dopamine levels will go up here. Most likely it would be something like junk food. The problem is that your dopamine levels are going to go back down, but when they go back down, they're going to go below baseline, and your baseline continues to get lower, and you get more depressed, and it's like a never-ending downward spiral, right? Another thing is trauma. If someone has severe trauma that hasn't been addressed, they can continue to eat and eat and eat to cope with it. Another thing can be social pressure, right? You're at a social event, and they're like, chug, chug, chug. Or, you get offered some food, but you're full. But you can't be rude and not eat it, right? And I think to a certain point, it's okay. But sometimes you do have to put your foot down. Sometimes you have to understand that, hey, is it really worth sabotaging my health and well-being just so I can get this little bit more dopamine or a little bit more pleasure? Most of the time, it's really not. It's really not at the end of the day. Another thing is extreme dieting. So I don't think necessarily it has to do with being super restrictive if you're eating way, way less. So for example, if your BMR is like 1800 and you're eating like 1200, 1100 calories a day, especially if you're just eating these low calories foods with no nutrition, your body's going to go into a mode of starvation and you're going to catch yourself binge eating. So, when it does come to dieting, you need to be able to nourish your body. And then the weight loss will come by itself. Calories in, calories out is only a very small part of the equation. This probably is the biggest reason, because please understand that all this junk food, Doritos, Oreos, cookies, all this ultra highly processed food, it's made by scientists in a lab. They sit in a lab and they engineer the food specifically. So when you eat it, it hits the bliss point in the human brain. And at that point, your body's going to be like, whoa, what is this? So good. Keep eating, 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 eating. And it will sabotage your satiety mechanism. So you won't know when you actually get full. Mitigation methods. So the first thing you want to do is you want to eat whole foods, okay? You want to eat your animal-based proteins, your fats, and then you can have your little bit of your fruit, your honey, your sweet potatoes, your rice, stuff like that. Eat whole foods, all right? Stay away from those ultra-processed foods that are sabotaging the satiety mechanisms in your brain. When you eat whole foods, you're actually going to notice that, hey, I'm actually full. Oh, I'm full. I can stop eating. When you're eating a lot of processed foods, it's very hard. Diet smart, right? So we talked about earlier how, if you're trying to diet, lose weight, etc., for whatever reason, make sure you're getting the right nutrition you need. Make sure you're getting nutrient-dense foods. You're not eating empty calorie foods and just eating chicken breast and broccoli because there's no nutrition in that, right? You might lose some weight temporarily, but you're going to plateau and then you're going to fall into a binge, and it's just not going to be sustainable. And then third thing here, presence/awareness. So you need to be present. A lot of meditation is good for this. Just being very present in the actual moment and being aware. So be like, hey, okay, I think I'm full. Maybe I should stop eating, rather than just eating and eating and eating and eating and eating. Being present, being aware and understanding, am I going past the point where I should not be eating anymore? Eating slow and chewing well. This is going to allow your body to take, because it takes time, right? Like, from when you take your first bite of food, you're going to be hungry. But if you eat slow and you chew really well, you give your body time for this satiety mechanism to kick in. For me, I used to eat really fast, not chew much. And I would notice I would always be binge eating and overeating is because I didn't give my body enough time to signal that it's full. But if you give your body, the 30, 40 minutes to eat a meal, by the end of that 30, 40 minutes, you're not hungry anymore. But if you eat the whole meal in 10, 15 minutes, then you have another 20 minutes where you're hungry, but you're stuffed and you're just, you're just eating. Right? Another mitigation method is smaller plate and fork. This, is more of a mental thing. It definitely can help mitigate it. The last thing here is creating a habit of 80% cutoff. So don't eat until you're stuffed. Eat until you're like full. You feel pretty good. You don't want to eat to that point. You just want to eat until you feel good. All right. So concluding here, let's go over a quick recap. The raw reality is that it's not an easy thing to do, but if you're aware of it and you're not arrogant, you're not coping, you'll be like, hey, I have this issue. That's going to be the first step to solving it. I talked about a couple different root causes. You just have to figure out which one of these root causes is it me? Is it something I didn't mention? If you think there's something here I didn't mention, leave it in the comments down below. What are the mitigation methods I can use to deal with these root causes? Proactiveness is going to be the last thing here, and the people that be proactive, that take action upon these things, are going to be the people that see success and make it to the other side. If you're never going to be proactive, you're never going to take any action on it, nothing's going to change really, right? Your old decisions are going to leave you with the same old life, but when you start to make new decisions and you start to create new habits, that's when you're going to start to reap the benefits of your new life. I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Consider leaving a like, subscribe, and if you want to stay up to date with my daily exclusive stories on Instagram, I'm currently doing the Lion Diet Challenge. So if you guys want to see what's up, see what I'm doing, see what I'm eating, you can give me a follow. I'm going to put the link in the description down below. All right. Peace.